my book, it's primarily about my model of wellness and the 5 steps, which is repair the physiology, because this physiology, everything affects the physiology, the sound, the noise, the heat, the electrical currents from your computer and your phone, all those sort of things. So they're kind of bombarding us. So what we have to do is mend this first. And then step 2, then we look at the beliefs. Let's release those underlying issues that are causing the stress in the first place. And then the 3rd step is, okay, now that we've done that, we need to keep our vibration up. So we need to renew what's happening in our bodies. And then the next step is we need to look at who we are on a deeper level, who or what are our innate skills and talents and abilities. And when you get to that core, then you can actually operate as you should be, You'll be actually really happy when you do that. So everything will come easily and effortlessly to that. So the last step is actually your goals. You can actually create goals. You can only create goals when you clear out all of that gunk. So that's what that's about. So the book's about that, and it goes through all of those steps. And what happens in chapter 4, for people who want to find out what their beliefs are, but they haven't quite got it yet, what you can do is actually go to the physical symptom in the body and work back that way, okay? So, for example, I'll just tell you mine. I actually get sinus problem on this side pretty much only, and sinus problem has got to do with the belief of not being good enough. So, way back, my mother kept telling me, whatever, and she kept criticising me and so on, and she obviously learnt that from her mother and so on, and that's what happened. So if I, as a child, could have said to her, listen, and fought back, as a 6-year-old, said, listen, all I did was spilt the milk or dirtied my dress or, whatever it was, instead of not being able to express who I was, and I could say to her, listen, I am a good person, I'll always be a good person, I am good enough. If I could have expressed that, there wouldn't be stress, because I wouldn't have been holding it and containing it within my body. And so those beliefs actually affect your DNA and can cause you to be negative or can cause that states of disease, So that's how that works. So in chapter 4, that's how that works. If you don't know specifically what your belief is, go to your symptom and work backwards, and you'll find out what your belief is. And there are actually only 9 beliefs, major beliefs. If you're going through life kind of blaming your parents, which is what we all do, at some stage you've got to take responsibility and say, look, I know that happened. I can't change it. I can get rid of some of those beliefs that are underlying it, but what can I do now? So what's happening is you're actually training your cells to think out of the negative aspect, rather than the positive aspect. And so that becomes your demeanour. And it's your default position, So what I try and help people do is come from a positive position and overcome all of that thing that's happened, throughout their lives, just purely by changing how they respond to stress. I'm going to take responsibility for my life because no one else can fix you, You're having all the thoughts, you're having all the feelings, you're doing all this behaviour. Why not do it differently to get a better result? When I do my program and people do my program, we don't change their diet, we don't change the exercise, or we don't change their lifestyle. We just do one thing, okay? So we leave that until step 3 when they've cleared all that gunk out. And one of the exercises we do is to do with the psoas muscle, because this psoas muscle is, when you're in the womb, everything's kind of up like that, and that's your primary survival position. So every time a stressful event occurs, you actually go into that position. So you're storing stress here. So some of the exercises we do are to release the tension and the stress out of that psoas muscle. It only takes about 15 minutes a day. So that's part of the program. But that, as I said, is in step 3 of the model. But as I said, I would just prefer to do one thing at a time. When people are in real struggle, some of those people want the magic pill. They're into addictions really heavily, like smoking, drinking, drugs, whatever it is, painkillers, whatever it is. Those people are really difficult to help with this program. What you have to do is step 2 of my program first, okay? So, but anybody else who's not in that struggling kind of mode, who's a bit higher up the scale, is like, okay, I would suggest we resolve stress first, really. Resolve that first and then take it from there and see how you go, because it's actually, this is not magic. It's not about a magic feel. It's about, you have to do the work, you know. You have to retrain your physiology in a certain way so that you're not going like that all the time, yeah. Stress is affected for the senses, yeah?
Yeah.
So if something's activated through the senses, sense memory, then that's going to remind you. And also to sitting like this, because you're actually activating the psoas, you can actually start to remind yourself of stress. So really what people should do, if they can, every half an hour, stand up and stretch back a bit to stretch this out, yeah?
Yeah.
So to break the nexus, because every time you break the nexus of what is happening to you that is stressful or a reminder, that allows you to get further away from that issue. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the model. Step 1, the 37-day program that I have, the stress resolution program, it's got 4 steps, and it says, okay, you're in struggle mode, and that struggle mode is people are affected by stress 100% of the time, so they're into heavy addictions. So I mentioned that they would need to do step 2 of my program first, or they might go to someone else, you know, but they're looking for the magic pill and it's just never going to work. So the next step is surviving. And so you're affected by stress 70% of the time. So this course would be ideal for you. And so what that means is you're actually quite exhausted. You're dragging yourself through the day, and that's kind of a big sign for you. The next step is thriving, and you're affected by stress 40-50% of the time. So that's kind of about average, what's happening in society. And so you're a tiny bit less tired, exhausted, but you can kind of cope, and you are just coping like 50-50, you know. And the 4th step is flow, where you're only affected by stress 10% of the time, and that's the good stress, where you've got a project or something on and you get so involved, and you know, you're doing days and nights and on this project, and when you finish that project, everything releases and you go back to normal. That's great. That's good stress. So what in my program, what I'm trying to do is get people from struggling to flow. Because when you get to that flow state, you're in that state where your vibration is up, you're really positive all of the time or most of the time, and you know how to handle stress. And so that means that you can attract what you want into your life really easily, because this is not going bzzz and this is not going bzzz, you know. So, and your body's relaxed, and you're responding to stress how you need to be. So that's the model, right? So then what we do is we say, okay, using a scientific approach, because people want to know something works and they want to know step by step how it works. So the 3 steps are like, let's measure your stress. And so with this equipment, you can actually physically see how stressed you are, measure the stress, and then so that you can monitor it. When you monitor it, you're going, wow, if I just change what I'm doing slightly, you can get a better outcome. So the 3rd thing is change what you're doing or adjust so that you can improve. So that's the 3 steps. And so really successful people, they're the exact steps that they go through in my program, and they get the results. They have to do the work, obviously. I can't help people who are not helping themselves, you know. It just doesn't work that way, you know. So you don't get it by osmosis, you know. Like read this book and be less stressful. You go, oh, okay, you know. I actually recently got a book by a well-known author, and it was about doing something different every day for 31 days. And I went, that is nuts. That is so nuts, you know. Yeah. People would get to day 6 and fail, and then they would feel a failure, you know.
When you said that you went to do a course and they said 77 different methods, I got stressed at hearing 77 different things I had to learn in a short course.
Yes, and they kind of proudly said and put up, you know how they do that summary on the board, and they say, everyone tell me what of it. And so we went through this thing, and they said, see, there were 70, you know, where we went, wow. And I'm coming from a different scenario here, and I'm going, this is nuts. This is just nuts, you know. So I thought, no, there's a better way, you know. And so that's why I put all my energy into what I'm doing, because it works. The system that I use has been around for about 50 years. It's researched and it's tested and it's proven. And the research is there. It's on my website. People can actually read all that. So I don't have to worry about that. I know it works. And you can see, like when people put the earplug on and see how stressed they are. And then as they go and practice over the few weeks, they can see how they can change. Yeah? And so that means they're in control. So they can self-regulate how they're responding by adjusting what they're doing here, how they're responding to stress. So if they can self-regulate, that means they're totally in control. Okay? So the objective of the exercise is to stop zotting back into the past and into the future, which is what people who are depressed keep going over and over and over the past, and people who are anxious keep going, what if, worrying about the future. So if we can get people back into the present, and when you get back to the present, that means you are aware. So if you have that awareness, you have control. And that's what it's about. Control, freedom, choice. People have a choice. You can do nothing and continue doing whatever you're doing. And I can guarantee that you'll actually become more stressed, because that's what's happening, because people don't know how to cope. Or else you can take action and do something, So that is, as I said, your choice. The thing that I want you to remember is there's three things here, is that stress is the basis of up to 95% of all disease, failure, non-success, all of that stuff, okay? So you're creating the disease because you are stressed, and the stress is creating havoc in your physiology. So you have a choice there, you can stop that. The second thing is stress is cumulative. So if stress is cumulative, if you don't deal with the issues that have been building up over time, you kind of get this big barrel of, like this. And so the slightest thing that happens is going to create some kind of health issue. So that's the second thing. So the third thing is you need to get to the underlying issues that are actually the real cause of your stress. And you have to be able to deprogram and reprogram your subconscious and your conscious mind, which is what we do with my course. And get to those two issues, and one of the issues is you have to be able to change how you respond to stress, and you have to be able to deal with the beliefs that are running your stress. And unless and until you do that, you're just going to continue down the same path. So I hope you've enjoyed our chat today, and if you need any help, please give me a call. Go to the website and send me an email, and I'd be really happy to help you in any way that I can.